$302,359. That's how much one short-term rental company generated in upsell revenue in just 9 months using a single AI tool. And the vast majority of that was pure profit. Not revenue that gets eaten up by expenses or split with property owners. Money that goes straight to the operator's bottom line. Now, before you start to think that they've got something special that you don't, let me break it down for you. They manage about 350 properties. That works out to roughly $1,100 per listing per year in additional profit from upsells alone. For most co-hosts, that kind of a bump would equate to about a 10% boost in your bottom line without a single new property, without a single new headache. Imagine waking up tomorrow and making an extra $1,000 per listing that you manage with essentially zero additional effort. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly how they set up this entire system in under 30 minutes, which upsell categories made the most money, and how you can replicate it whether you have 5 listings or 500. I'm also going deep on the one category that generated over $241,000 by itself, and why it's essentially risk-free profit for co-hosts and property managers. So here's the setup. This is a short-term rental management company based in Arizona with about 350 properties. It's a professional operation, but the strategies they're using scale to any portfolio size. The per listing math works the same at 5 listings or 500. 9 months ago, they plugged in an AI-powered upselling system. Before that, their business looked like most operations. Guest books, check in, stays, checks out, end of transaction. No systematic upsells, no damage protection revenue, no way to monetize early check-ins or late checkouts. Revenue was capped at nightly rate times number of nights. After a 30-minute setup, they generated $302,000 across 4 upsell categories over the next 9 months, with essentially zero ongoing effort because the system runs on autopilot. Let's break down where that money came from, starting with the biggest category and the one most hosts have never even considered: damage waivers. Of the total $302,000, $241,310 came from this single category. That's 80% of all upsell revenue. And it's essentially 100% pure profit margin for the management company. Here's how it works. Traditionally, you collect a refundable security deposit of, say, $500 and hold it during the stay and then return it after checkout if nothing is damaged. Guests hate having money tied up like this. Hosts hate dealing with disputes. Nobody loves this process. So what if instead of a refundable deposit, the guest pays a small, non-refundable fee? Think of it like travel insurance for the property. $20, $50, or $100, depending on the tier, and accidental damages up to a certain amount are covered. The key word is non-refundable. The guest pays whether or not they damage anything. And since the vast majority of stays have zero accidental damage, those waiver fees are almost entirely pure profit. And critically, these waivers only cover accidental damages. No rule breaking, not smoking, not negligence, not theft. The expensive stuff isn't covered. The operator's actual payout exposure is minimal. Here's the implementation detail that makes this convert. Check-in instructions are withheld until the guest either buys a waiver or places a traditional deposit. So the guest chooses between paying $20 and being done with it, or having $500 held on their card. Most guests pick the waiver without thinking twice. Now, here's why this is especially powerful for co-hosts and property managers. When a guest buys a waiver, you as the operator take on the risk, but actual payouts on accidental damages are negligible. Again, the waiver doesn't cover rule breaking and is capped at a limit that you decide. And because you're taking on the risk, you keep 100% of the reward. Damage waiver revenue does not get split with property owners under most management agreements. This is entirely your money. $241,000 over 9 months that went straight to the management company. When you annualize that across 350 properties, it's roughly $920 per listing per year in pure operator profit. If your management fees generate about $12,000 per listing per year, that's nearly a 10% income boost without adding a single door. And the risk capped at the equivalent deposit amount per stay. The math overwhelmingly favors the operator. So to recap, $241,000 from damage waivers. 30-minute setup, running on autopilot, pure profit for the management company. And that was just one of 4 categories. If you're doing the math on how much you're leaving on the table right now, the tool that powers all of this is called Bestie AI. They've generated over $5 million in upsell revenue for operators across more than 20,000 properties. If you want to see how this works on your listing, there's a link in the description to book a quick call with the Bestie team. But damage waivers were only part of the story here. Let me show you where the rest of that $300,000 came from. The second category is booking boosters, $43,000 over 9 months. These are extra nights sold to existing guests. The AI identifies gap nights in your calendar and proactively offers extensions. Across the platform, Gap Night automation generates an average of 1.2 extra book nights per month per listing. Per listing, this category works out to about $164 per year. Modest individually, but it's pure incremental revenue from nights that would otherwise have generated zero. Next, early check-ins and late checkouts, $11,000 and $6,700 respectively. Combined, almost $18,000 over 9 months. Here's how most hosts handle early check-in requests today. Guest messages asking to check in early. You check your calendar, figure out if there's a cleaning conflict, maybe go back and forth with your cleaner a bit, then respond hours later. Sometimes you say yes for free, sometimes you say no, and the guest is kind of annoyed. With an automated system, early check-in is offered as a paid option in the guest portal before the guest even has to ask. You set your rates and decide whatever you want. The AI checks for scheduling conflicts automatically. If there's no conflict, it approves and charges. Same thing with late checkouts in reverse. Per listing, this works out to about $67 per year. Small on its own, but when you stack everything together, here's the full picture. Damage waivers, approximately $920 per listing per year. Pure profit, not split with owners. Booking boosters, approximately $164 per listing per year. Early check-ins, approximately $42. Late checkouts, approximately $26. Total per listing per year is approximately $1,152. At 5 listings, that's over $5,700 per year. At 10 listings, nearly $11,500. At 50 listings, nearly $58,000, all on autopilot after a 30-minute setup. And the majority of it doesn't need to be split with property owners. This is what a 10% boost to your management company looks like without 10% more properties, without 10% more complexity, and without hiring anyone. Now, this is the part where most people start wondering how long setup actually takes. Honest answer, about 30 minutes. The tool is Bestie AI. It plugs into your property management system, whether that's Hostaway, Bestie, Hostfleet, Escapia, Streamline, Track, or any of the others. It syncs your listings and you configure pricing, waiver tiers, automation rules, and everything from one dashboard. If you want someone to walk through how this works for your specific portfolio, just click the link in the description to book a quick call with the Bestie team. But before we wrap up, there's a strategic layer here that most operators are missing. The traditional way to grow profit in property management is to add more doors, but every new door adds complexity. Owner relationships, cleaning schedules, maintenance, guest communications. At some point, you hit a ceiling where adding more doors breaks your operations faster than it grows revenue. Upsell revenue breaks that cycle. This company added the equivalent of 35 to 40 properties worth of profit without adding a single property. No new owners, no new onboarding, no new cleaning schedules. They grew profit by 10% without growing their portfolio at all. For operators who feel maxed out, who can't add another door without everything falling apart, this is your unlock. You don't need more doors, you need more revenue per door. There's also a resilience angle. Upsell revenue that doesn't get split with owners creates a financial buffer. If you lose a property, the hit is cushioned, and it gives you flexibility to be more competitive on management fees when pitching new owners, because your profit isn't solely dependent on the fee percentage anymore. Every booking that comes through your properties without an upsell system is a booking where you're leaving over $1,000 per listing per year on the table. If you want to see how this works on your listing, click the link in the description to book a call with the Bestie team. They've done over 500 onboardings, from operators with 1 or 2 listings to accounts with over 1,000 properties. So they'll show you exactly what this looks like for your business. Link is right in the description. Drop a comment and let me know how many listings you're managing. I'm curious how many of you are already using Upsells versus hearing about this for the first time. And if you want more deep dives like this into AI tools and revenue strategies for short-term rentals, hit subscribe. We've got a lot more coming.